Now, a number of teachers at Vaal High School are being investigated for alleged sexual misconduct. The Gauteng Education Department has appointed a legal firm to probe those claims that have leveled against staff, including the principal at the school in Vanderbijlpark. For more on the story, I'm now joined in studio by Gauteng Education spokesperson Mabona. And a bit later on, we'll be having Cynthia, who is with the National Teachers Union. Yeah, she's with the National Teachers Union, and she'll be joining us a little bit later on in this conversation. But a very warm welcome to you, Steve. Thank you for your time today. So how did you, as the department, find out about these allegations of sexual misconduct?
Thank you very much, Thami, and to all our viewers. Look, we saw some posts which were on the social media, but because you know that we cannot not probe on anything.
And where were these posts from? Who were they from?
No, from different parents who were making, these allegations. But we then decided that let's visit the school with the MEC on the 1st of October. And when we were interacting with the school management and some educators, and to a certain extent the parents, we then learned that actually some of these allegations were reported to the district as per the allegations. And the MEC could not decide on what action to take because there were just a lot of allegations, which some were not substantiated. He felt that you need then to give them an opportunity, I'm talking about the district, to present a report that will be assisting him. Subsequent to that, a report was then presented, but he could not use that to take any decision because it meant that you need to suspend people, you need to take action. But if you don't have evidence that will be assisting you with that, you risk, that people will be suing you and they will win their cases. So he then decided that, look, let's have a legal entity that is going to be independently investigating all the allegations so that we are in a position to take any action that would have been coming from the recommendations.
Take us through the severity of the allegations. What exactly are they?
Well, these allegations of sexual misconduct, that some of the educators are forcing relationships between themselves and the learners. To a certain extent, there's allegations of people impregnating other learners. So it's quite serious. Hence, we felt that we need more because some people decided to be anonymous, not to come forward. And we felt that with an independent body that will be going to the school, probably some will then come forward. But you'll understand when we also need to interact with the learners, we need a consent from parents. So that process will start, next week, where the body will then be going to the school, interact with all the relevant stakeholders and just check on what is it that they will be doing in terms of their investigation.
So what is the status quo at the moment? You said that you got the report, but you couldn't act on the report because you needed proof, and therefore you got the investigators to help you get that proof to action anything out. Where are the teachers who are involved in these allegations? Are they still teaching at their school? Is it, business as usual at the schools right now?
Look, everyone is still at school.
So nobody has been suspended?
No. Because remember, we felt that the information that was put on the table did not assist us. Hence, we felt that let's have an independent firm that is going to be assisting us with the process of investigating. Because when the district was at the school, some parents felt that they didn't take action, and so there was no cooperation. So you don't have information that is going to assist you. Because remember, if you decide on suspending someone, you need to have a case, because you don't want to suspend and at the later stage you are sued. Then you have to pay, someone for.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, but the practice that we've seen a lot of is if there's an investigation that's underway, the person who is being investigated would be temporarily removed from their position so that investigations can happen without any sort of intimidation, without any sort of interference. One would assume that that is the standpoint that you would take as well.
No, it depends on what you have. That's why MEC had to go to the school to understand what is really happening. And that interaction, honestly did not assist him to take some drastic action. And hence he felt that probably this time, with the people that will be coming from outside, they're independent, they're not coming from the department or the district or no, the school, they are independent, then they will have to be given opportunity to do their work and will take necessary action. I mean, you'll remember most of the cases where we appoint a law firm, we will give them an opportunity to come with recommendations. I mean, the case in point is the Parktown boys. We did not immediately suspend. We waited for the law firm to do their work, and they gave us recommendations which we could not really ignore. Then we had to take necessary action. So with this case as well, because it's quite complex and allegations are serious, we felt that we need more that is going to empower us as a department to take necessary action.
Let's pause just there for a moment. When we return, Cynthia Barnes, who is the Secretary General at the National Teachers Union, will be joining us for this conversation. Do stay with us. Good to have you with us on this Friday afternoon. Now, we're right in the middle of a conversation. We're with the Gauteng Education spokesperson, Steve Mabona, talking about the allegations of sexual misconduct at a school in the Vaal. And joining us now is Cynthia Barnes, who is the Secretary General at the National Teachers Union. Ms. Barnes, thank you for your time today. Just your thoughts on the prevalence of sexual misconduct in schools between learners and teachers, Ms. Barnes. How prevalent is this from your estimation and your experience?
According to our own experience as the National Teachers Union, are very rare cases where we encounter teachers having sexual relationship with the learners. You know why? It is because we as the National Teachers Union, we normally come together with our teachers and we train them. We also workshop them on whatever needs to be workshopped on. We don't rely on whatever other circumstances may be, but we sit down with them and then we tell them what they should actually take the learners as their own children, and they should take them as human beings as they are. So in most cases, we don't find any way of saying that the teachers are having sexual intercourse with children. But it does happen in some instances. We cannot say we don't hear about certain issues happening. It does happen. But in the National Teachers Union, no, we haven't so far.
And your experience, Mr. Mabona, as far as the prevalence of this issue?
Well, each and every case has its own merit. And what we would normally do, we work very closely with SACE, the South African Council of Educators. And we then investigate all these cases and make sure that those that are found guilty, they are struck off the role of teaching. But when you look at the numbers, it's just that we don't have current numbers now, but we don't have many of such cases, because in the teaching or in the education sector, they will tell you that such cases are taken very serious, and most of the people have been expelled and they're struck off the role. They would not be in a position to work or teach anywhere in the country. So where you find such cases, we act as a department, and it's something that we take very serious. So the prevalence quite low because of the deterrent that we have shown to say, if you do this, this is the door that you're going to use, to exit the education sector.
Cynthia, I just want to change gears for a moment and ask you to comment on a story that we heard in the Free State, where a learner threw what the learner calls mud at a teacher, but the teacher came back and said, no, actually it wasn't mud, but it was actually sewage. If you could just tell us about that incident and what transpired there.
Well, I cannot talk much about it, because in normal circumstances you'll find that teachers are being blacklisted or teachers are being abused by the learners themselves. And only to find that at the end of the day, if a learner abuses a teacher, nothing is taken, no precautions are being taken against the learner. But when a teacher does something that is very small, everybody will blow a whistle. So therefore now, if a teacher has been, sewage has been thrown onto the teacher, that is a degrading of a teacher's profession, if I may say so. Because if a teacher now has to be full of the sewage at school, in front of all the learners that are there, then that on its own, it's now tarnishing the name of a teacher, and the teacher won't be able even to stand in front of the learners. But you will find that the department won't do anything towards the learner that has done so. So that is very worrying us. For example, my comrade or the department personnel has mentioned that it are very rare cases whereby you find that the teachers are having a relationship with the learners. But that 0.0% has a register. The department will make a register on that, only to find that teachers are doing well. There's no register that is being kept by the Department of Education to say these are the teachers that were doing well, these are the teachers that have produced good results. So what incentives can be given to those teachers? How can we appreciate what the teachers have done? For example, we're also looking at SACE and saying that SACE is also like a prison to teachers where they are looking for fault. But there is 0.001% of the teachers that are in their books. What are they doing with the teachers that have done well? Are they giving them any incentive to say, well done, the appreciation on its own? So therefore, we are saying as the National Teachers Union, we are very, very worried that they only look for the wrongs that the teachers are doing instead of looking at the wrongs. Well, there's no problem doing that, but also appreciate what the teachers are also doing well.
No. Now, Mr. Mabona, very strong allegations that are being made, and I see you shaking your head and saying no. No,
I'm saying the statement is very unfortunate, coming from our colleagues from the union. Anything that would have been done wrong by a learner, there is a code of conduct which has been crafted. Each and every school has a code of conduct. And we have so many cases where the school will then decide to expel a learner because of what might have been done, or after the disciplinary process, because the disciplinary process and SGB has a responsibility, which they represent parents, because you must understand that SGB represent parents, and if they decide to expel a learner because of misconduct, as a department, we need to then check on what is it that they've done in terms of the processes. Do they follow everything? Do we have enough evidence for us to really, remove the child? Or is there any sanction that has been taken? And most of the time, there's no learner that will do anything that is transgressing the code of conduct and nothing is done. I mean, I think that is very much unfortunate that the union think that we are not doing anything. So in a situation like this, how are you going to handle this case of the mud sewage throwing? No, according to information at our disposal, I mean, Free State has confirmed that that child was suspended for 5 days. But because it's exam time now, what we do, if you suspend a child during this period, the child will then be allowed to come to write his or her examination and go back home. But then you also need to take a few days to make sure that you conduct the disciplinary hearing. But because of its exam time, we normally discourage schools from doing that, because the learners need to focus and make sure that they are not disturbed. But there's a lot of discipline that we are doing or we're conducting in across our schools. Ms. Barnes, is that a satisfactory enough response for you from Mr. Mabona, that this child was suspended for 5 days, but is this enough for you as the union?
No, it's not enough, because seriously, what about the image of a teacher? If the child is suspended for 5 days, that means the child won't feel the pinch. There's so many children that will continue doing it, knowing exactly that they will only be suspended. If it was a teacher that has done that deed, the teacher was going to be expelled. That's what they normally do. So if they are saying the child is just going to be at home just for the exam, that means the only thing for the children, they don't think for the educators themselves. So it goes back to say that there is nothing, as the department personnel has said, there's a lot that they've reprimanded the children. We've got cases here where the children have done something wrong to the teachers themselves, but there's nothing that has been done. Maybe the governing body will intervene, but nothing else will be done. The child will continue to be at school, and the teacher will be like a laughing stock.
Ms. Barnes, are you saying then that expulsion would have been the best way to deal with this case, that this child should have been expelled from the school?
Not actually expulsion of a learner, but to give a child maybe a tougher, what can I say, to be reprimanded in such a way that the children must also feel that what they are doing is very wrong to the teachers themselves. Not to say that the child must be expelled. Nobody needs to expel, because we are looking at the future of the children as well.
I've got Mr. Mabona here literally asking you a question, but I'd like you to ask her that question yourself.
No, I'm asking if she says it's not enough. What is it that will be enough, according to her?
Okay, what will be enough according to myself? The child... Beg your pardon?
No, go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, I think what is enough is that the child must be called into, the parents must also be called in, as well as the governing body. The child must also go to the teacher and apologize. Because if you haven't done so, that means the child still have that whatever he has done is correct. So if you have gone through all those procedures, then I would say you have done enough to the child. Because even to the schools itself, the child must apologize in front of all the learners that are there to show that he or she has done something that is very wrong to the teacher.
Is that though part of the process, a public apology? For example, the child that spilled the sewage on the teacher, it was done publicly. Is this child going to be required to retract that by public apology?
But that will emanate from the disciplinary hearing, which has not taken place as we speak, because we said the child was precautionary removed from the school with that suspension. But you still need to have a disciplinary process where you will call in a parent. Yes, I mean, there's a child, the parent must come to the disciplinary process, and it must be a fair process where if the child is found guilty, then there will be a necessary sanction. Among others, it will be, sometimes they are expected to apologize, and they are
so
given different
when is this going to
sanctions.
happen in this case? You did say it's exams. When exactly is this going to happen?
Well, it's just that it's a free state matter, but I'm quite comforted that they've acknowledged that they are going ahead with the process. Probably they'll wait for the child to finish, and then she will be then given an opportunity to come to the disciplinary process.
Ms. Barnes, what is your comment and your observation about the existence relationship between learners and teachers? Is there a level of respect, or do you feel that it has really degenerated and broken down to quite a severe level?
It has really degenerated, because if you're looking at that Free State instance, where the learner is able to take mud, especially sewage, and throw it into the teacher, that doesn't show any respect at all. So therefore, that is why I am also saying, if that child can be reprimanded, for example, the departmental official is saying the child will be given a chance to write, the child might write and finish and doesn't come to the hearing, and then what is going to happen thereafter? And the teacher must continue teaching as everything is normal, which is really unnatural to the teacher himself or herself. So therefore now we are saying the children are made to insult the teachers just because there's nothing that is being done to them whenever they do something that is bad to the teachers.
Ms. Barnes, we have to wrap up now, but Mr. Mabona, we've seen incidents such as this where learners have attacked teachers or beaten teachers or sworn at teachers. This is not the first type of incident. So clearly one can't turn a blind eye and say this is not a problem that exists. Are there measures that are being put in place by the department, not only provincially but perhaps nationally as well, to try and solve this relationship between learners and teachers, and to bring back a level of respect and integrity which used to exist at some point?
Look, from where I'm sitting, I mean, there's a lot that has been done in terms of discipline. We cannot really condone any ill discipline. Any platform that we utilize will re-emphasize that. And we take necessary action. So in all the cases where there were dismissible offenses, those children were dismissed. It's just that according to the Schools Act, if the child is still of a school-going age, you still have an obligation as a department to find, alternative space and place that child there. But there are those children that we tried to, go into that, maybe conforming to the obligation. But some schools will say, no, we don't want this child. And you will then be sitting with a child that does not have school because, there's a reluctance of, the child being accepted. So those that will be aware that this is what has happened to so and so, it's a deterrent that if I'm expelled, I stand 90% chances of not getting a school. So that's what we are doing, and we cannot really tolerate ill discipline in our schools, and that's what we re-emphasize and make sure that we take action. So we are not satisfied with the union saying we are not doing anything. Probably they need to do their homework, go to the department and check on the cases that we have expelled learners, and most especially those that they conducted themselves, ill-discipline.
I think we'll have to leave it at there for now, Mr. Mabona and Ms. Barnes, but certainly an issue that continues to perpetuate, an issue that needs further investigation and further work. But thank you very much, Ms. Barnes, for your time, as well as to you, Mr. Mabona, for your time this afternoon, as we focus on the relationship that exists in our schooling system. And as you could see from that, it really is an issue of problems on both sides. Allegations from the teacher side as well as from the learners, and how does one bridge that gap and foster healthy relationships for both learners and teachers, so that the ultimate objectives of educating children and raising future leaders is obtained with integrity as well as excellence.